Listen, there's a lot of great things going on with the Razorback football, basketball, baseball, softball. I mean, really everything going great with the Razorback sports program. And who better to talk more about it as well as his great career than Bobby Bones? He joins us next on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I'm your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Out of Bounds. You can catch every weekday afternoon from 1 to 4 on 103.7 The Buzz and 103.7thebuzz.com. Very special guest on the podcast today. As we know, we're going to the dog days of summer, but we're still going to have a lot of fun. And welcome in who is no less than the third best looking guest I've ever had on this podcast. And it is the man himself, Bobby Bones. And Bobby, really appreciate you joining us this afternoon, man. How you doing?
Who's 1 and 2? And I mean, I'm probably like 23rd, but I'll accept third. But who's 1 and 2?
Well, I would probably have to give the edge for number one to probably be Sam Pittman, as he's come on my podcast. So
best looking? You think listen, I love Pittman too, but best looking?
Dude, have you seen how much weight he's lost? Like, he's getting buff and he's looking good, man. I got to give some praise to him. He's a sexy man.
He looks great, but he better looking than I am. I mean, come on, I got a few years on him. Okay, if that's how the game goes, well, there's a lot of it. Muss is better looking than me. The ghost of Frank Broyles is better looking than me. So, okay, I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, man, it's like everybody's better looking than me on the podcast. That's why I bring on guests, so that way I can make them look a lot better. But no, it's great to have you on, man. And I know that you're such a busy guy, and I guess we'll just start with, we mentioned Razorback football, basketball, baseball. I know you've been following it. I know you've been to games. I know, just how long you've been a fan. How incredible is it thinking just a few years ago where this program was at in general to where it's at now, and just how much fun are you being able to have with it, where you can talk trash now, you can walk with pride, you can talk to your celebrity friends and be like, yeah, I'm a Razorback fan and I'm proud of it this time around.
It's cool that because I do walk with a lot of pride. I don't talk a lot of trash yet. You know what it's like. I don't feel like we're comfortable enough to talk trash. We've had too many bad years and too many, large, groups of years for us to feel super confident. But it is really cool that, not only has Coach Pittman brought us back on the football side, which no one was expecting, and Coach Muss brought us back on the basketball side, and not just to relevance, but also to expectation, because that's something that we really don't sit well with, is expectation. I know I'm scared of it, and we have it in football and basketball. And so you got to thank, Hunter Yurachek, because he's the guy that's orchestrating all of these coaches. But I don't even want to stop at those two. Of course, the OG, Van Horn, Coach Van Horn has been winning for a long time. That has been set as a standard. But again, if we continue to go and what Coach Deifel's done with the softball team, where, our first year in the SEC, I think they won one SEC game. And then, it was maybe 7, then 12. And now, this year they've won the SEC outright. Last year they tied for the SEC championship. So it is all around a great time to be a Hog fan. And, for me, especially on the softball side, my brother-in-law, his name is DJ Gasso. He's a softball coach at Utah, but his mom is Patty Gasso, the head coach at Oklahoma, who's like the greatest softball coach of all time, like at least coaching right now, living. And Oklahoma's crushing. And so I go, she's family, but I'm not a Sooner fan in any way whatsoever. My wife is hardcore Sooner, but I will go and watch Patty or Coach Gasso's team, and I will wear a Hog. And at first it was kind of just a troll, but now it's like, listen, we're going to go into the SEC tournament and hopefully, get like a super regional and make it to the World Series in Oklahoma City, and we have a shot to play them. And so all around, it's great to be a Hog fan and just to be able to be invested and interested all year long. It's something that I, in my whole life, have never been able to do because we've not been good at everything all at once.
Well, and that's the thing that I try to tell people too, is because, I mean, we grew up as Razorback fans. I grew up in Fayetteville, and, there's just so much pride in the state of everybody just feeling good about everything. And I can't tell you how many times where it's like, it's always felt like it was like one sport or the other, in the 90s, it was all basketball, and football had a couple of years here and there, but it was kind of stagnant, and baseball wasn't as big of a deal. And then the 2000s come in, and basketball was average sometimes, but then football had a couple good years here and there, and baseball was starting to get it going. It just seems like it's never been able to get on the same page, and then just boom, all of a sudden, there's not a sport that I can't say as a Razorback fan that I'm like, not only are we competitive, but we are really good. And you mentioned Hunter Yurchek and everybody involved. Like, I think it's just showing that people outside the state of Arkansas say, oh, little old Arkansas, they ain't no big deal. But people here in the state know what this program's capable of. And it's just nice to see all the sports doing so well because they're living up to the potential that Razorback fans know that they've been able to live up to for so long.
Yeah, it's just awesome to win, honestly. We get the crap beat out of us in every way possible. I mean, not even just sports. Like, people take shots at Arkansas constantly, and I think you and I both being Arkansans, it's awesome. I mean, I wish I could speak more eloquently about what it's like to win, but I can't. It's just freaking awesome. And we don't get a lot of W's on the national scene. People don't really respect us. So when we have to get respect, we have to force it. So I love it. I have a national radio show, and I represent Arkansas hard. And, I have a couple TV shows, and, at times they're like, hey, maybe we don't show your tattoos. And I'm like, no, I've got the state of Arkansas firmly on my arm. We're not going to pull that out. So yeah, for me, it's a thrill. And, to be able to actually know like the coaches and text them. And, for me, those are like the untouchables as a kid. To be able to text, I mean, I talked to Muss on the phone occasionally, or I was with Coach Pittman last week, and, and this isn't a flex by me, but it's like, I can't believe it. And we were hanging out in his office, and, it's just crazy that I get to have these relationships and that the teams are good. And, as well as I do, it is a really cool time, and I don't want to take it for granted because it won't always happen. The nature of the beast is up and down, but while it's up, I just want to take it all in.
That's all you can do, man. And I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask you about, the relationships that you do have with the coaches. Because obviously, in their eyes and just the success that you've had, that's a very big deal to them. But just, to be able to have those conversations where even you mentioned untouchables, like no offense, because I like the guy as a coach, but, I don't think that if Bobby Petrino was still the coach, you'd just be exchanging calls all the time. He just didn't seem like it was that type of approachable guy or anything. And there's nothing against it. Just people are different with the personalities. But these coaches, even for you and even for the fans, it just seems like they're very approachable too, where they're interactive. They love Arkansas. And for you to be able to just interact them in the way they do is kind of just shows their personality and how much they enjoy just talking with people and talking with fans as well.
Yeah, I wish I knew the origin stories of how I even got their numbers. But, Muss, he came over. It's probably just a DM. And I was like, hey, man, if you ever need anything, let me know. Or if I can help with anything. But he just loves basketball. And I know that's weird to say about a coach, but like he eats, sleeps, breathes basketball. And there was a time in the last couple of weeks that we were on the phone talking about some stuff. And, I listened to him talk about the full roster of next. And I'm like, should I be like, this feels like have too much inside information. And it really wasn't inside information. It was just, I'm listening to the coach tell me like I'm in the room. So, and I do have a lucky life where I get to hang out with a lot of people that are celebrities, and some of them are douches and some of them aren't, but they're normal people regardless. They're just people you like and people you don't. But to me, the Arkansas coaches and athletes, like those are the real celebrities to me. So, Coach Pittman is as down of a dude as I've ever met, like just like a guy that you want to hang out with. And I know people say that, and I was like, okay, but probably behind the scenes, but he's just a dude. And so, yeah, it's been awesome. And, I wish that I was cooler and could be like, yeah, no big deal. But it is a big deal to me because I'm Arkansas all the way. But it's just a thrill.
Well, and I know that, we've interacted on Twitter too, and we've seen like some of the great moments that happened just over the past school year. Like the football season was great, and I'll never take that for granted, and some of the great wins that they had. But, this basketball run, I've said it many times before, football's great, baseball's great. But like when basketball is great, when basketball at Arkansas, it just seems like that next level. I mean, how much fun did you have where not only are you being able to see the run, but back-to-back years going to the Elite Eight, job's not finished, and just the way the direction his program is going. I mean, it just seems like that's like one of the most fun things you can be around because everyone watches the NCAA tournament. Not everybody watches the Outback Bowl, which is nothing against it, but being a part of something that everybody is watching and talking about and the great runs that they've gone on already is just exciting.
Yeah, it's fun to watch, and it's fun to like be excited about something. So, if a game's on Tuesday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, you're reading the message boards, you're getting, I mean, it's just a lot of time investment, but it's like fun because you have something to look forward to. It's like Christmas, twice a week, even during the regular season, Tuesday nights, Friday nights. It's like Christmas twice a week. And leading up to the Auburn game, regular season, they're number one. I had to play a show at the Opry that night, or I would have been there, and I'd committed to kind of close the night and do, 20 minutes of stand up. And so I couldn't leave because they had been promoting that I was going to be at the show that night and performing. But I had the game on my phone, which I had on stage performing at the Opry on a national radio show and on a television show on Peacock. I was still watching the game while I was performing because it meant that much. And I was so excited for it. So to me, it's just to have teams that could possibly win, like that's so much fun to be able to just all week long read about it, think about it, imagine it. Sometimes I don't even want the game to happen. I've just had so much fun leading up to it, being in the conversation. I mean, we were ranked top 10 this year in football, and people are like, who knows if they deserve it. I'm like, who cares? Like, we're in every conversation. When they're showing highlights on SportsCenter, they have to show us because we're a top 25 team. So, yeah, it's pretty cool to just be excited. Like the football season, we were up in Fayetteville a couple weeks ago, and we had opened for Garth Brooks, and it was awesome. And I didn't really enjoy it till it was over because I didn't want to screw it up. And one of the cool things was the day before I went up, and again, I was hanging out with Coach, and he was like, "It's gonna be great." And I was like, "I don't know, it's gonna be great. I'm gonna go and give it my all." And he gives you one of these pep talks, but it's not like a raw pep talk. It's like a real life, like I'm your best friend, and we're gonna do. And so I go and I play the show, and it ends up being pretty good. And he's like, "Hey, come up to the suites." I go up and I hang out with him and watch a little bit of Garth Brooks. And he's like, "Hey, I'm not kidding." This is what he said to me. I don't think he would care if I shared it. He goes, "I'm not kidding. We're gonna be good next year." And I was like, "All right, I'm sold." Like I already felt pretty good with KJ coming back. With Green and Rocket Sanders in the backfield. Our O-line's probably going to be the best in the SEC, at least top one or two. Like, it's all there. We're probably, we'll see how we do at receiver, with Treylon Burks gone. If we could have someone, if the kid from Oklahoma, Hazelwood, if he's what the stars say he is, and what I mean, like his recruiting, like, we're going to be there, right? So it's exciting to have Coach kind of say that, like, "Hey, I know you're reading this stuff, but we're really going to be pretty good." And so that was my favorite moment, I think, of the whole trip. It was not playing the show, I know Garth a little bit now at this point. The hog call, and then Coach Pittman, after 2 days of being together, going, "Hey, we're going to be good next year." And me going, "All right, I'm excited. I get to be excited for like 100 more days now."
Yeah. Well, hey, if he sold you, he sold me on it for sure. And I want to talk more about that Garth Brooks concert here in just a second. But first, I got to tell everybody about Built Bar and how we know that once the summertime comes around, we're always trying to make sure that we maintain and we lose our weight. And we got to get that beach body ready for the beach season. And sometimes it's really tough to be able to eat healthy. But luckily for you, we have this great deal with Built Bar that if you go to built.com, you can check out all the amazing flavors that they have and get a great deal on them, because not only are they healthy, but they taste amazing as they are covered in 100% chocolate. And by listening to this podcast, if you go to built.com and enter in promo code LOCKED15, you'll get 15% off your next order. It's as simple as that. You can order the whole store. Doesn't matter how many. Just make sure to enter in promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, continuing on our conversation with Bobby Bones of the Bobby Bones Show, which we appreciate him coming on. Bobby, you mentioned the Garth Brooks concert. I was there for that, and I was there kind of towards the bottom of the, or not on the floor, but like right there in the north end zone, and having some fun with that. And it was awesome, man. Like, it was absolutely awesome being able to be there and to see that concert, to see you perform in your band as well and everything. Just tell us about that experience and what that was like, because obviously it was cool because Garth Brooks and all that, but to be able to do it in Razorback Stadium for you had to have a little extra juice to it.
Well, that's the only reason I did it, honestly. Our band is a comedy duo that I had formed a long time ago. I was just playing guitar in my comedy sets. I do stand up and play theaters all over the country. And so I have he's my best friend. And so we just started doing two-man comedy stuff because he's actually a pretty good musician. And I can write the funny stuff and do the jokes, and he can play. And that just continued to get bigger and bigger. And so we started playing festivals. And, we've raised like a couple $1 million for children's hospitals. And so, we were doing a lot of shows and we kind of quit, and I was just playing songs when I was doing my solo shows. And we're, again, never really a music band. We played funny songs, but it wasn't to be a big music star, because I can't really sing. I can sing just good enough to not be distracting. And so we hadn't really played any shows, and Garth called I think it was like March 31st. Perfect timing for April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
And so he texted me first. I was on the air, and he texted me. He goes, "Hey, can you talk?" And I was like, "Well, I'm on the air right now. I'll be home like 11:30. So hit me up then." And he's like, "All right, cool." And at the same time, I'm going, I just told Garth Brooks, "Hit me up then," because I can't talk. Like, what life is this? And so I'm home, and my wife was in the house with me, and she's from Oklahoma, and she's a big Sooner fan, and Garth's from Oklahoma, and so I was like, Garth's gonna asked me to do something. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a charity thing, but come and sit with me. And so he calls, and he's like, "Hey, man, it's Garth." And obviously I know it's Garth because the phone said Garth, and I don't have to put Brooks on the back of it. I just put Garth. I can just put G and know who it is. And I'm like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" He said, I have a proposition for you. I said, "Okay." And he said, "How would you like to come and play, open up for me in the stadium show in Arkansas?" And so I said, "Well, like what's happening with that show?" And I really just asked him that to get him talking for a second. And I muted me, and I told my wife, I said, "Hey, I don't think I'm going to do this, because we're not trying to be a music act. We've done this thing for 4 or 5 years, and we've never opened for anybody. And if we go and play a music show, people are going to be confused by what we're doing." And she's like, "If you don't say yes to this, you're going to want to kill yourself in 30 days, in a year, in 3 years." She goes, "Just say yes, and we'll talk about it once you're off the call." So Garth talked a little more about the show, so I unmute it, and I say, "You know what? Would love to do it. Can't wait." And he's like, "All right, we'll send you all the details." And that was it. And so he hits me up a few days later, and he's like, "All right, we'll see you there. You'll need to be there the day of for sound check." And I'd already planned to come in, because I think I've signed 7 athletes to NIL deals right now up on the hill. And so I was coming in the day before to do some photos with them. And so we do sound check that day, and Garth and his wife Trisha Yearwood are up. And again, I have a relationship with them that I just can walk up and be like, "Hey guys," and give them a hug. And so I'll walk up, and this is the coolest thing that somebody could do, like a headliner. He said, "Hey, I have this stage, and it's a whole round stage because it's in the round. So there are people all around the circle of the stage." He said, "While you're playing, you should use the whole stage and run everywhere." Now, a headliner never tells the opening act to use the whole stage. It's kind of the unspoken rule, and sometimes it's the spoken rule. You have a very small spot that you can play and don't leave it, because that's for the headliner. And I said, we can use the whole stage? And he goes, "Yeah, there are people everywhere. You should run around the whole stage." And I thought, I've never heard of a headliner doing that. So Garth's already super cool. He then says that, and then he goes, "How long are you guys going to play?" I said, "Well, we were told to play, 20 to 30 minutes. And a headliner or an opening act plays 15 to 20 usually. So they were already giving us extra time." And I said, "So we'll probably play up around 30. And he goes, "If you're feeling it, just keep playing. Play 45, play 50. I don't care, because I'm going to be here all night." And so for a headliner to tell the opener, use the whole stage and play as long as you want, I've never heard of such thing. And not only that, there were people having trouble getting in, because you know what it's like up there. And so and there were some ticket issues of beeping in some tickets. And he said, "Hey, we have some people that can't get in, so I'm going to hold you guys for a little bit." And he sent out Mitch Russell, who opened. And when we went on, he gave us full lights. He gave us everything. It was the coolest thing. And he did this because he knew that was home for me, and that was my favorite place in the whole world. Like, being in that stadium, that's it. That's the place. When someone does these little games, like, if you could be anywhere in the whole world, any scenario, it's in Razorback Stadium. It's my favorite place. So to do that, and we didn't suck, and to have that night, it was awesome. It was just A+, and really one of the highlights. And I'm so glad that my wife told me to do it, because I was really considering not doing it.
Yeah, I can only imagine. The only thing I even have close to that is that we did a media flag football game in there like 5 or 6 years ago, and I caught a touchdown pass in Razorback Stadium doing flag football. And I'm like,
hey, it's all the same. If you're just in there, it's awesome. It's just being a kid that would just look forward to maybe going to a game a year with our church group, because I couldn't afford to go to a game, but they would take us. I would just wait And I mean, I went and watched Peyton Manning drill us one year. It was awesome. Not to get beat, but to see Peyton Manning and to go with our FCA group. And, so I wouldn't get to go a lot, but when I would, it would make my whole year. And as I started to, make my own money, I would prioritize trips. And it's just amazing. It's amazing to be there. I'll be in Bud Walton this weekend on Saturday. And, just to be there for the graduation is awesome. I'm just so lucky now to be able to go back and do things that as a kid were so important to me.
Well, let me ask you, because I know you mentioned the NIL deal, which is NIL is just a crazy thing. Like on my station on 103.7 The Buzz, we've had some NIL deals with interviews and stuff on our station and all that. And I know that you signed some student athletes to some NIL. So what are those details like? Because it's, a lot of people just go for, I want the big stars, to go here. But you signed a lot of people from different sports and from different backgrounds. So what was that process like in signing NIL with U of A athletes?
Well, as soon as the NIL was allowed, I hit up Jalen Williams and I said, hey, I got a new TV show coming out on Disney Plus. I want you to do promotion for it for me. And so then I hit up the school. He's like, yes. And then I hit up his attorney, and we, everything is done really streamlined and by the books. And I loved it because I don't want to do it wrong. And so, we line up all the paperwork. I pay him some thousands, and he promoted the crap out of it, and he did it on my socials. We used clip. And so, he was talking about breaking Bobby Bones, and we called him my PR person, but really I hired him to be the voice on social media and other little media places to promote my TV show. So I was going to use him again, but I have an apparel line where we give back a lot to different causes. And we're working with a group in Northwest Arkansas to make sure that kids who can't afford to play baseball can play baseball. And so I reached out and I found 7 different athletes to work on. We have a hoodie we're dropping in this apparel line, and I can't see. Like my right eye works. I have like 3% vision in it, and my left eye is pretty bad too. So I wear big glasses. And the line's called Can't See Apparel. And so what I did is I called Jalen first, and he was like, "Bro, I'm out of town." He's doing the draft stuff. He's going to the camps to see, if he'll fall in the draft, and as in fall, as in be drafted. He said, "I'm going to be out of town." But he recommended a couple people. And so I hit up some other folks up on the hill, and I got Devo from the basketball team, who I love, just hard worker. His style's a little quirky. Like that's my dude. Rocket Sanders, who's just such a hardworking guy, just such love him. Bumper, obviously. So from the football team, I got Rocket and Bumper. From the basketball team, I got Devo. I was going to get Jalen, but Jalen pieced out. I have 2 cheerleaders. I got Jersey and Sailor from the women's basketball team. I know I'm forgetting somebody. But anyway, I have 7 athletes that are representing the brand, and our drop's going to be probably this Friday. And it's just awesome. If I can use these student athletes from the University of Arkansas and Northwest Arkansas to help me promote this brand so we can sell a lot of hoodies, so we can make sure that kids can play sports, they're working. The fact that athletes could not do what other classmates could do. Athletes were being penalized for being an athlete. It was crazy to me. So now that they can work, I'm going to use them for their name, image, and likeness, and it's going to benefit all of us. So just super pumped to be able to do that, to be able to help our athletes, and they're helping me. So it's a symbiotic relationship. So that's what it is. It's important to me to give back to our athletes, and I know they're working hard, represent the University of Arkansas, and if I can use them to help what I'm doing, I'm going to do it always.
We'll finish up our discussion with Bobby Bones here in just a second. First, got to tell you about Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's crazy how just with your vehicle, there's so many different moving parts that you need to take care of and you need to replace and you need more information on. But you don't want to go to those big box stores because you're going to have to pay a lot more. They may not even be able to get you what you got. And if they need it, they have to order it. It just seems like a hassle. Rock Auto is what helps you out the most because you can save time and some money. And it's a family-owned business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Prices are reliably low for every single customer, whether it's a do-it-yourselfer or someone who owns your own business. It's always going to be the same. If you go to rockauto.com right now and enter promo code LOCKED on, you'll be able to receive 15% off your next order. Simple as that. And also make sure you go to the comment box and write in Locked On in the How Did You Hear About Us box so that they know that we sent you here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the car parts you'll ever need at rockauto.com.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so final segment here real quick with Bobby Bones, who's our guest on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. So, Bobby, just I was curious because obviously you have a lot of interactions with a lot of different people from all over the place. Have you been able to successfully convert many people to Razorback fandom? Because that's something that I've worked on with people. I don't have much success, but I feel like in your runnings with a lot of different people, maybe at least get them to watch a game with you, something like that. Anywhere close?
I can't even get my wife to convert. Now, she shouldn't because she's a diehard Sooner. So converting, no, I think that's tough. That's like converting religions. You know, you're dug in, you believe what you believe at this point. You're raised how you were raised. But I do have a lot of friends now that reach out a lot when Arkansas wins or is playing well. I think that's kind of the new fun thing is that we're good. And so, you know, some of my close friends like Luke Bryan, the country singer, he's a big Georgia Bulldog guy. And when Arkansas plays well, he's always like, hey, look at your Hogs. And I think that Darius, who's a big South Carolina guy, Darius Rucker, it's all my friends here in Nashville. And a lot of them are SEC folks because they were all born in kind of the South. A lot of Bulldog fans from Georgia, you know, so no Vanderbilt fans, oddly. I mean, I don't know if there are fans.
Yeah, I'd say, do they exist?
Yeah, no passionate ones anyway. But I think that's what it is. Mostly they're just like, hey, how about those Hogs, man? They're killing it. And that's the fun thing is that I now can take part in some of these conversations.
Yeah, see, that's the thing I think is so exciting about it too. Is just, you know, I go to SEC media days every year, and you know, it's usually just kind of like, oh, okay, ho hum Arkansas. But I've had same thing with people like when the Arkansas Texas game was going on in football.
Greatest
People
game.
were texting me, yeah,
Greatest game.
Yeah, they were just like, dude, it looks lit there. Like they were watching on TV. They just couldn't just fathom it. It's almost like because they've forgotten that Razorback football and sports can be so passionate. And I think it's been really great too. And I can't tell you, I'm sure you understand this just for like our business, you know, doing Razorback content and stuff. When the team's good, it's just so much more fun. And I've tried to, I dated a girl for a little bit, tried to get her to be a Razorback fan. Did not happen. Did not work.
That's good though, right? I mean, the good thing about my wife is also the thing that's most annoying is that she is passionate about her team. She loves the Sooners. I don't love the Sooners. I don't like the Sooners. But I can respect the fact that she is a diehard Sooner fan. I don't like it, but I can respect it. And I like that about her. And, you know, our debate now is when we have kids, because we're having those conversations, she's like, you know, we're going to make them Sooner fans. And I feel like that's just her curse. I don't even like her saying that. And so, but we will have those battles. The difference is I have relationships inside the program at the University of Arkansas, so I'll take the kid to do cooler things than what she can do. And so, you know, it's just been an awesome time to be a Razorback fan. I don't want to take it for granted. We're good at a lot of things at once. You know, I'm not sure when this is going to run, but the softball team's right in the middle of it, and you hope they have a great SEC tournament. They'll get that number 1 seed. It's awesome to just beat Bama outright in the conference. The baseball team, you know, it has been a weird year where, first of all, we win the series from Auburn and we drop to that was so weird to me that we win the series and then drop in the polls. But okay, whatever. You beat a top 25 team and you fall in the poll. Weird. Okay. But, you know, the baseball season's been a little odd to me. We have lost some games where I'm like, really? But we still at times look as good as we have ever looked. Like it took us a while for our bats to come alive. But again, we're going to be tough to beat consistently. And I still feel like we can win the whole thing. Football, obviously. Basketball, we're rocking. You know, I think the big question is Jalen going to come back? You know, I don't know the answer. And I have a relationship with him. I don't know the answer to that. So if he comes back, holy crap, watch out. If he doesn't come back, holy crap, watch out. But there's a difference in holy crap, watch out and holy crap, watch out. We're going to be good anyway, but just looking forward to, I mean, anytime I can watch the Hogs. And you're right about the content. I mean, I listen and read everything that I possibly can because we're winning. And I got to imagine if you're doing Razorback, a radio show or a podcast, people like to hear about a winner. It's tough to hear about a loser because you're like, well, I don't want to listen to something that, you know, doesn't make me feel good. But I'll say this too about this podcast. This is the most professional I did not expect this thing to be this professional, John. This thing's awesome.
What do you mean?
You got spots in the middle of it. You got people doing voiceover. You got the whole thing. Like, shout out to you. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And so it's been a real treat for me to be here. And it's amazing to be a Hog fan. I will always represent Arkansas. And, I'll just be the Hog fan until eventually I'm governor of the state and be the #1 Hog fan,
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I try to pretend I'm professional sometimes, I kind of have to fake it till you bake it at least. But man, I'm serious though. I appreciate you coming on. I know my sister-in-law, Julia, and my nephew, Oliver, they listen to your show all the time. So they're going to get a huge kick out of this interview and the fact that you were able to come on because, like I said, they think you're awesome and everything. So I'm like, well, at least I'll know I have 2 listeners that's going to say this was a great podcast to be able to listen to. So,
well, Julia, Oliver, I appreciate you listening and thank you. And that's awesome. I just wanted to say your names. I love Julia. I love Oliver, and best friends forever.
Oh, man, they're going to love you for that one. Bobby, as always, man, great talking to you, dude. Enjoy the rest of your time. I know it's going to be crazy for you, but it's always good to talk some Razorback sports with you, man, and enjoy it, man. I'm sure we'll be catching up with you.
Yeah, appreciate it. And by the way, if you're watching this and I have a cutoff shirt on, I've been doing yard work for the past hour. And so I apologize, but it's on brand. I'm in a cutoff shirt and a Razorback hat, and the yard doesn't look much better than it did before I started. I'll be honest with you. But go Hogs, Woo Pig, and John, good to see you, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Absolutely, man. It was good seeing you.